So, moving on to Gotham,
yes.
which I'm sure people may have heard of it. They may be familiar with your character, Oswald Cobblepot, also known as Penguin. Yeah. This past season, there was a lot of revelations, a lot of turns, and deeper layers to your character. We got to learn a little more about Oswald.
Yeah.
Particularly with the storyline of him realizing that he had feelings. He was in love with Edward Nygma.
Yeah. What Oswald's mistaken idea of what love is what he felt for Edward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on. The whole thing.
Yeah. Let's get into things. Now, was this a storyline that they came to you and were like, all right, we're going to do this? Or was this sort of a wrinkle that you and Corey sort of were like, oh, this would be interesting to play, this would be, a new layer to add to the characters? Like, how did that storyline come about?
Yeah, well, they came to us and they announced it to both of us at the beginning of season 3, or before actually, I think we started. We knew that this was going to come in. And I don't think that they knew when they started the show that this was going to be this was going to be a really storyline of the show. But Corey and I had that amazing scene together in the first season, there was just immediate chemistry there, not just between me and Corey, but between the characters. There was something very complimentary about the two of them together, and so the fans, the audience picked up on it immediately, as did the writers. And so then you see in season 2 how they become friends, and then how that morphed into what happened in season 3, where Oswald developed his idea of puppies. He developed those feelings for Ed, and so let's just start off. So I didn't know. They obviously, since this came in later, they had not told me when we started the show that Oswald was queer or was queer or gay or any sort of. We didn't really discuss his sexuality beyond the fact that he was somewhat divorced from it because of the bullying and the experiences he had as a child. And so he had we'd always talked about it from the beginning as this was an aspect of his personality, probably with a lot of influences from his mother, the great Carol Payne. Next year.
Yeah.
She lives right there.
Just send a text.
Yeah. Carol, I'm picking up. Anyway, so because of his relationships with mom, again, his sexuality was something that was not really a part of his life or anything that he really wanted or felt the need to explore. Because again, that's a place of vulnerability in Oswald, having been treated the way he's been treated. That's the last thing he wants. So anyway, going forward, I did not know that the character was gay, and so when they tell me, queer or had other feelings for it, when they told me that we were doing this, I was like, okay, well that's where I'm starting, because that's where you just sprung this on me. I'm not going to go back and rewrite some sort of history with this character and say he always had these feelings. I'm treating this as though he's opening his eyes, the first person since his mother and then his father, the only people that he ever loved, the first person that ever shows him any sort of respect, and someone that he also is equally challenged by was the Riddler, and who also, was kind to him, and so that's the first time he experienced that outside of his parents. So obviously for Oswald, because he's a manipulative, emotionally stunted person, he's going to glom right onto that. And that's going to be where we start with these romantic feelings. That experience is so not what my experience has been as a gay man. I can't equate that to his thing. So I'm starting just right in this moment that you, the writers, are giving me this material. This is where this experience is starting for Oswald as well. And so, so then it's we're getting into a whole larger conversation, you know, which I'm sure everyone here has had this conversation at some point, maybe even this weekend, about like, about LGBTQIA and labels and what they mean and what they don't mean. And like, I was like, I don't really want to ascribe any sort of labels to this person, because again, I would be ascribing labels to someone who's coming about possibly their sexuality, or at least a romantic side of their personality. It's coming about that from a place of such darkness and manipulation and abuse and all of this stuff. And I don't want to ascribe any of that to anyone who's part of the larger LGBTQIA community. So that was another place that I really need to make sure that everybody understands that this character is not a paragon of any sort, or he's not like an example of any sort of like queer experience that anyone in the world should have or really should look up to, because again, he is a very tortured, manipulative, conniving person. And again, I say, like, his ideas of what love are. So he gloms onto Edward because he wants, obviously wants someone, who understands him and like who also he feels safe with. But his way of dealing with that is to kill Edward's girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, this is the person that we're dealing with here. So like, I want to make sure that context is constantly understood, but people, see him go forward. Especially with his relationships with Edward, and then other people that are coming in season 4, which I can't talk too much about.
No.
I would say,
Okay.
In and out. It's a big city.
Right. Lots of people. Yeah. It's, Gotham mingle.
Yeah.
Does Gotham even have
So,
Tinder?
during the scenes, and spoilers if anyone has not seen the past season, when your character is seemingly killed and Riddler, Edward Nygma, is having hallucinations due to his use of drugs.
Yeah.
And he sees your character, and there's this moment where you are singing to him, Amy Winehouse. Was that song choice yours, or that was the writers? And like, when if it was the writers, was it were you like, yes, let's do this, or was it sort of like some hesitation?
That was fully the writers. I mean, I feel like if I chose, I love that song, but that is a song that literally I think only Amy Winehouse could ever sing, because it's like, it's just one like endless jazz riff that has like no, like, I can do a really great Happy Birthday, but like, I'm gonna go in and sing Amy Winehouse now, and again, it's a perfect song for the moment, and it's also just such an off choice too, which I love. Such an insight into what's going on inside the Riddler's mind, it's especially like, I just love what that illuminates where he is, you know what I mean? Like, that's the song that he thought of, and also that's an insight into his heart as well, you know what I mean? Like, I love that whole storyline. I love that episode because, again, every time you see me, I am the Riddler's idea of who Oswald is. I'm not actually Oswald, I'm the Riddler's idea of who that is, and it's really brilliant because if we didn't have that episode, it would have looked like, Edward had, and I'm not saying any romantic feelings, but it would have looked like he had zero feelings at all for Oswald. You know what I mean? And what I loved about that is because it sort of evened the tables a little bit, in the sense that there was a friendship on both sides. Obviously, Oswald, through his warped sense of romance and desire, took it to that extra place. Edward did not. But, to see him imagining Oswald, thinking of him, having him sing to him, and have it be that song, I thought was just really nice. It like made it evened it out, and it showed that there was a friendship that was deep between the two of them.
Well, it was a very sort of touching moment, because it showed his conflicting feelings, and that there can be more to friendship than maybe more that meets the eye.
Right. Also, so I have a couple funny stories because I just like to tell. So that's an Amy Winehouse song, and I recorded it in Soho, and then I recorded it not just in Soho, I recorded it in Mark Ronson's former recording studio, in the booth where Amy recorded that song. So like,
Oh, nice.
like, so okay, no pressure. It's like some tribute to Amy. She's probably like, no thanks. But anyway, that was really cool, and like that was a really wild moment, and and I was gonna say something else. Oh, and the other thing too. So in that scene, if you're paying attention, that's the first time you see Oswald with the top hat and the traditional black and white tux that we, how he started. That was originally how he was illustrated. And I know that some sticklers for Canada are going to hate me and burn me in effigy for saying this, but we're doing this on our show. We're telling our own sort of interpretation of this. And what I love about that is another example of how there is a deep connection between the Riddler and the Penguin is weirdly in our Gotham, subconsciously the Riddler dreamed of the Penguin before the Penguin knew who the Penguin was. You know what I mean? And I think that's another like really cool, just like just an intrinsic connection between the two of them that I was really happy that it's like you can do those things with wardrobe and stuff and like illuminate things that you wouldn't really think about when you're just reading the page. And by the way, our assistant wardrobe costume designer is in the back, Josh Quinn. Stand up. Everyone give me a clap. He works really hard. I rolled deep to this one. It's a FlameCon.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the villains, I mean, Gotham is speaking to the people who it's not canon. It's Gotham is the villains. And Bruce Wayne, he's over here.
Not this season.
Not this season. Yes.
And not the previous seasons. I disagree with you, but like what I love about our show too is that we have younger actors in the show, and it's really amazing to watch them grow up. And I really do feel that David is like, well, first of all, he's like 4 inches taller than me now, which is really annoying. But also, like, it's as I watch David grow up, I also am watching Bruce Wayne grow up, and he really is throwing himself into the evolution of this character. And I think, especially with the steps that he's taking in season 4, I think the Dark Knight is more and more crystallizing. We're starting to see this boy and the potential inside of him to become the savior of Gotham, which I think is so exciting. And again, it's like where the real melds with the fantasy that we're creating, and to be someone in part of that is just really awesome. So yeah.
Well,
awesome.
Speaking of like sort of the growth of the characters. So starting off, you had several sort of. You had a mother figure and then sort of like a mentor mother figure.
Mm-hmm.
So you had Jada Pinkett Smith as Fish Mooney.
Yes.
And Carol Kane as her mom.
Yes.
And then you had Paul Rubens, who came and played her dad. Yes. Not necessarily any spoilers, but feel free to spoil whatever you want. Are there any mentors or other characters or actors that you would like to see in season 4 or upcoming seasons? Or do you feel that Penguin is stepping into his own, that he has no more mentors, he has no one, he's really taking his place in Gotham?
Well, story-wise, that's definitely where we're starting with season 4. I mean, it's, after the deterioration of his friendship with Nigma, and then, he's learned, and then, of course, the loss of his mother, and the loss of his father, and the loss of his mentor, like, all of this happening, he's going in forward being like, love makes, like I said earlier, love makes you vulnerable, and if you love someone, that's how someone can hurt you. And so, and so he's going forward like, no, just me, thanks so much, like, I'm in charge, but again, like, that you can't sustain that. Like, when this person is evolving, and Gotham City is such a complex place that, someone is going to come into his path that is going to change, his idea of how he should behave and how he should act. That happens in this season, and, we'll see him learn even more about himself. And that's all I do.
Well, so maybe no mentors, but do you have any, like, dream cast?
I want to work with the rest of my fabulous cast members. Like, we have a core group of people that have been there since the beginning, and I can say, like, you know, having been on other shows, the chemistry that we have as people and not just actors is incredible. Like, it's one in a million. It's like lightning striking. It never happens, and it's been confirmed by like Ben McKenzie to me. It's a bunch of shows, and you know, he's like, believe me, this doesn't happen. You know, he's like worked on some shows where he, you know, I'm not saying anymore. But yeah. So I mean, like, if I could have a storyline with Alfred, a storyline with Dr. Tompkins, which again is like, she's going to go through a major change this year, and you know, really break out of the romantic foil of Jim and really become her own presence in Gotham City. And I can't give too much away about that, but you know, she's a badass bitch, and I really want to get in her corner. So I'll just say that.
Fair.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to the Iceberg Lounge this year?
Yes, I'm so happy to have a club again. It's like, he had like Fish Mooney's Club for like a second, and then it was a dismal failure. And then, you know, he's learned a little things. He's like, yeah, it's also a great, like, first of all, the set is beautiful, but just like practically, it's such a great, iconic place to run a crime syndicate out of. You know, it's just, you know, it has that feeling of, I don't know, it's you know, it's exciting because it's a club and it's glittery and beautiful and everything. And it's also like this beautiful like jewel box where people get their brains blown out. You know what I mean? So it's like has that dangerous like beautiful edge, which I think is really.
It's got a nice centerpiece, you know.
Yeah. Paid a lot for that centerpiece.
Yeah. So we're gonna turn things over to you for Q&A.
Yeah,
so we have one of our volunteers who has a microphone. So just keep in mind. Just keep your questions polite and short. So,
polite.
So,
please and thank yous, please.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, this is fun.
So if Gotham was a real place, would you want to live there?
Hell yeah. Well, no, that's the thing. It's like, and I'm going to repeat what our executive producer, co-creator Danny Cannon said when talking about the world that we're creating with the show. He's like, I'm recreating the New York City as Gotham, but it's the New York City of my childhood, the one that I fell in love with, which is the New York City of Sidney Lumet and Martin Scorsese, and late 70s, early 80s, where you had this confluence of art and and art and politics and crime and anything it had this possibility. It was a place where anyone could still live in New York City and make it happen. And it was and he was like, that's the Gotham. So that's the New York City of my childhood. That's what I'm creating here, and I feel the exact same way. It's like I want to go back and walk down the street and go to some crazy hang with Debbie Harry and all the others. You know what I mean? Like that I feel could happen in this Gotham City. So yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Right here.
Hi, I love your hair color.
Thank you.
I love that matches your shirt.
I dyed it this
And
morning.
your hair. It's perfect. It's a good pigment color.
So I fell down into the rabbit hole of Gotham because I am a huge Sean Pertwee fan.
Yes!
Way back.
Oh,
And
my
it seems
favorite.
like you guys hang out a bunch, and I was wondering if you had any fun Sean Pertwee anecdotes.
Oh my god. Jeez. Well, what can I say? That's so appropriate.
You're among friends.
I'm on the internet.
They're friends.
Which is fine. Anyway, yeah, no, he's a dear friend. What can I share about Sean Pertwee? He and I have the same birthday, which is nice. He also he took Corey and I. Okay, so Corey and I have sort of become like press junket buddies because they put us together a couple years in a row. They sent the three of us along with Ben to Japan the first year to do press for Gotham, and then the year after they sent us all to London, which we know is Sean Pertwee's hometown. Let me tell you, he really takes care of you when you go to his hometown. We met all of his friends, and Yeah, I just, I don't know. There's literally nothing I can tell you that is not something that's going to come and he's going to yell at me. So I'm just going to say he's lovely and amazing. I'm sorry. We're going on a boat trip next week, which I'm actually excited about.
Awesome.
Yeah, he gets a house in Fire Island. We're getting a house in Fire Island. We go just get on a boat. So look for our Instagram stories. Right. Any other question? Yay, another hair color I love.
So I found previous versions of Penguin just really unnerving and creepy and not likable anyway. But your Penguin is like, he's charismatic, he's fun. It's like, I want to be his friend, but I know he would murder me.
That's like my relationship with Billy.
Do you make a conscious effort to make him likable and not just creepy? Or is that just who you are as a person?
Well, I mean, yeah, I always, there's definitely a conscious effort to find, you know, the humanity in this character, and it's something that we're all doing for all of the characters. And then, yeah, I'll answer it by telling you a story. So, you know, I was talking recently, you know, to Ben, and we were talking about, you know, the characters and where they're going, and he was like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm great. Like, I really got to a place where I understand the trajectory of this character. You know, there are a couple times when, like, you know, he makes mistakes. Hubris is a real issue for him, and it ends up biting him in the ass most of the time. You know, there's some times where he makes choices where I'm like, come on, like, learn a lesson. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when he gets knocked down, like, there's some times where I've been like, okay, well, you could have seen that coming. But then I realized also that there's nothing interesting in that. Like, if Oswald is just winning, like, where's the humanity, and where's, like, the pathos, and where's all the good stuff that you watch these shows for? Like, you want to see, like, idiosyncrasies and, like experiences that these characters have that, you know, you wouldn't see anywhere else. And because you're watching it on film, you know, it's jumping out of the page, it's three-dimensional, you know, we're learning more and more about these people. And so, yeah, like, I've come around to being like, you know, his vulnerability is just so interesting to me, and it's also just such a, you know, it's a study in hubris, and it's a study in lessons learned, and, like, you know, if he knew everything from the top, the show would be really, really boring. And so it's like, you know, like, watching him go through, you know, struggles and loss and all of this stuff. Granted, he deserves most of it, because, you know, it's not getting apologies for his behavior. But yeah, it's so much more interesting. And so, like, yeah, I want people to feel something for him, you know. So articulate.
So we have a question here and then a question here.
You guys, that's my agent, Sam. Hi, Sam. He's the reason I'm here right now. Literally,
All right, so I will have to admit that I kind of had to skip through certain bits of season 2 because I had trouble watching the Arkham bits for your character. Were those as hard to play as they were to watch?
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, yeah, they are, and then it's also like with our show, you know, it can be a bit of a downer. I work really hard on it. But it's, you know, it's 9 months shoot of the year, and you know, and so you know, obviously it's all make believe. No one's getting hurt. No one's getting brainwashed. But you know, we're trying to be good at our jobs and, like, you know, make it feel as real as possible. And to do that, you physically have to put yourself into that state. You know what I mean? Like, and so when you're strapped to a chair and, you know, and you're putting yourself through that, you know, that is me screaming still, and it is me, like, you know, pulling, like, whether or not it's actually happening or not. Does it really matter ultimately if it feels exactly the same way, you know? So yeah, it is exhausting. And then it's also like, you know, cumulatively, at the end of the season, it can be really hard not to burn out, because it's like, where else you go, well, unless you're President of the United States, where else do you go to work and just, like, scream at everybody and, like, you know, fuck shit up. You know, So yeah, at the end of the year, it can get really, you know, like, almost like soul crushing, because it's like, even though, yes, it's all fake, and I, you know, am not in love with Corey, and I'm not, like, didn't get shot by him, but, you know, we're putting ourselves, you know, in those physical and, you know, emotional states that it's really hard, especially after 3 years of doing it, to just sort of like put it away, wash it off, and step away from it. You know, it's like something that I'm constantly learning, and it really is like, in order to sustain with a job like this, you know, it's a really important thing to get a handle on. So yeah, thanks for your question.
We had a question here.
Hi.
Hey, well, that was kind of like part of my question. I wanted to know if, like, playing a character that dark and like with all that like baggage puts you in like a funk after you're done filming. Like, do you feel like weird? Like, I don't know.
Well, no, yeah. I mean, yeah, and again, yeah, connected to your question, like at the end of the Arkham season and stuff, or when I was in the Arkham Asylum, and then when I got out and Oswald was brainwashed, you know, and then he was like this kind, pathetic, like, you know, so, and everyone's just like, you know, taking advantage of him, and like, you know, I would come home from work and the days were great, and like, you know, and I felt really good about the work, but I still would have that residual, like, you know, Dickie would be like, how's work? And I'd be like, as opposed to the days when I go and like, I'm like, kicking ass and taking names, like, you know, like it's one of those big intense days where we're doing like a massive scene and Penguin's winning, and like you know, like I'm the king of the world, like when I threw Fish Mooney over, you know, like I think we wrapped at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and like, but when you shoot something like that, again, this is where the you know, your actual, like the adrenaline from that experience, you know, carried with me. And then like, so at the end of those days when I'm on top, I come home and I'm like, today rocked! Like, you know, let's go to the club, I'm gonna come all of that, you know, excitement behind it. So yeah, it's weird.
And then your husband's like, it's 2 a.m.
we had a really great day yesterday. We shot, and I came home and I was like feeling it, like talking about this, talking about that, talking about this, and like, you know, he had like a whole day work, and he was like, what happened at work today? Are you okay? No, I'm just really feeling it right now.
We had another question back over there in the red shirt and the glasses.
So you mentioned the dream sequence where they had you in a top hat and tails, sort of the traditional Penguin attire.
Yeah.
Are there any other elements of sort of the iconic Penguin character that you want to see incorporated into your interpretation?
Very much, yeah.
And one thing particularly I'm interested in is like you have much more physicality than the Penguin, and we've seen you know, throw down with several characters, and that's very different from the Penguin character. But because the Penguin character didn't have that physicality, he depended on gadgets a lot. So
right.
I'm just wondering whether there's anything from Penguin that you want from the Penguin comics that you want to see in your character.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah, you said it, the gadgets, definitely. I feel like that's something, because again, we're starting when Penguin is younger, but you know, the issues that he has with his leg, his mobility issues, eventually the other thing that I would like to see come in is the monocle. Because, you know, in some stories, well, maybe all of them, I'm not, don't hold me to that, but like, the stories that I know, it's an actual injury that he receives. I don't know who gives it, someone else probably knows here, but anyway. See, I don't know who gives it to him, but I hope that we get, you know, we get to show that, and then also with like the stripping down away of his mobility, having more and more gadgets come in, and also the other thing too. I forget what, I think Danny was directing, like our executive producer was directing the episode, and it was one of those episodes where like, you know, all of a sudden like 8 people like pull like guns on me and like take me away somewhere, and I was like, Danny, can I start carrying a gun? It's like literally like the billionth time someone's walked in, pulled it on me, I'm like, okay. At this point, can I have my own? But then, you know, if we have gadgets, things that are hidden, I mean, we did have last year, you know, in the cane, there's the knife cane, like little secrets like that, like I really want to start building back in. I mean, whether it's the helicopter umbrella, you know, I don't know, you know, but more stuff like that I think would be really exciting. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your question.
Question over there, and then over in the middle. So.
So he's a bit of a prick.
Yes, thank you. You know, that's the other thing too, is like it gets, you know, bless you, everybody who's like, I just love him so much.
That's why he's likable.
Yeah, right.
But does he have a line? Like, he's a prick. He pushed Fish Mooney. He tried to kill her. He's a prick to Butch, but he does have some sort of morality to him.
Yeah.
So is there like a line that he won't cross?
Yeah, I mean, well, remains to be seen. Actually, hopefully no. Because again, I mean, at this moment, yes, there are certain standards, and again, you know, as you see in this, we're incorporating certain things in season 4 that touch on that, like, you know, and again, by the end of Gotham, you know, all like lines and limits should be erased, because again, we're talking about a supervillain, like we're talking about, you know, he's, you know, eventually when we're over, the story of our show is watching these characters' humanity get stripped away. You know, it's like, and that's what the story is about. It's about Gotham City as a place with people where you can't really be a 100% human being. You have to make terrible, monstrous choices to survive. You know, and so hopefully by the end of our run, may it be many years from now, there will be no line. There will be no scruples. There will be no like morality or judgment. You know, it's just him, number one. That's, you know, number one for him, and there, you know, nothing can get away with that. Right now, there are some things, and yeah, again, we'll see that in season 1. But I feel like I was going to say something else. Well, so no one's asked about it. Okay, so there was one thing that I did want to say, and I don't want to get, I'm talking about, you know, Gotham City is a place where, you know, your humanity gets stripped away. You know, I just think, I think about that, and we all think about like Gotham City being a dystopia. But, you know, I knew I was coming to FlameCon. I was like thinking about, you know, our show and like, you know, how it deals with certain issues and certain and diversity and all of that. And I will be the first one to say that there have been some mistakes made, and, you know, certain treatment of certain characters and their issues obviously could probably be handled, you know, maybe a little bit better. But at the same time, look at the world we're in right now and compare it to Gotham. Gotham, yes, dystopia. But let's look at the certain ways in which it is actually a utopia. In the sense that in our show, never ever once in Gotham City is anyone discounted because of their race or their sexuality. These characters, like, you know, it's something like they all coexist together and it's never thought of, it's never an issue. In that way, Gotham City is, you know, almost exemplary. You know, it's a place where, yes, all this other horrible shit happens, but, you know, fundamentally, like, every human being is weirdly treated equal. And let's reflect back onto the state of our country right now and how, anyway, so I really want to put that out there, and you know, and say that that's something that I'm really proud of our show. You know, I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the comic book community in general, because again, it is about inclusion, and it's about, and these Comic-Cons are safe spaces, and how amazing. I'm so glad to be at FlameCon, because it's like the safest of the safe spaces. I was telling someone else, and I've said to other people, and apologize for repeating myself, but like, you know, I do a lot of Comic-Cons, and I go to places like in the South, and in all over, you know, like anywhere, like, you know, all over the country, Canada, etc. And, you know, no matter what, the Comic-Con, regardless if it's, you know, this is the first queer-centric Comic-Con I've been to, but, you know, you go to these places and these Comic-Cons are like safe spaces for kids who are dealing with, you know, multiple issues, and whether or not they're gay, but a lot of them can be on the spectrum, LGBT, the whole thing, and you know, and dealing with certain issues, and this is like the only place where they can feel safe. And I'm so proud to be like a community where like that's just inherent. Like you walk into Comic-Con, you are who you are accepted, doesn't give it, and you could be in, you know, not to swear, but you could be like butt crack Alabama, and you know, you will still, and you go to the Comic-Con there, and it's still again, it's like it is right here. And so again, it's just like an amazing, you know, community part involved.
We love you too.
We have a question right here in the middle.
I can be loud if it's hard for you to get.
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So I know you just got so deep right now. Now I'm going to ask you a question about the walk. Do you ever find yourself walking that way when you're not like so much?
Pardon my French, but fuck no. Because, no, that's the thing. It's like, you know, people ask me that a lot, but you know, it makes sense. You would think that.
Subconsciously, it's like, oh God, I'm not even acting right now.
No, I know, right? And it does come like supernaturally, super naturally to me. But yeah, it's no. The second it's done, I'm like done. Like it's after 4 years, you
Well,
start to feel it.
Do you still, because I'd heard they put like a bottle cap in your shoe so that you would instinctively and not forget it, like in an important shot.
Yes, I did. I forgot it one scene in the first season, and my wardrobe person at the time, she worked on Broadway, and she was like, because this is an old Broadway trick, it's like Stella Adler, you know, if like you have a limp, put a rock in your shoe. And she was like, what if we put something in your shoe? I was like, perfect. And she got like the Poland Spring bottle cap and taped it in the bottom of my shoe. I did that for about 1.5 years. Then I downgraded to 2 quarters. And now I don't think we have any, Josh, do we have any more quarters in the shoe? No, we don't. You know, yeah, it's natural. Yeah, so thank you.
Right over here,
Hi.
same row.
So I'll take the mics over. Yeah. So, I love your character
Thank you.
so much, and I love this. You know, like you mentioned, like the punk, artistic kind of like, for me, the goth kind of Gotham, which is really driving me to the show. And so there's a character that I really want to see developed, and I'm curious to see where Poison Ivy goes. Especially like with you're switching actors, like there's a whole new arc that seems to, and I'm curious, like does Penguin interact? Like, is there anything that you have thoughts about her character development? You know, I'm really curious because she's been one of my favorite characters in comics for a long time, and there's not been great film adaptations of her.
Yeah, it's really, yeah. I mean, first of all of our Ivies are just amazing people and actresses. Claire Foley played Ivy when she was younger, and Maggie Giha plays Ivy when she's older. And so what can I say? I appreciate what both characters bring to the character. Both actors bring to the character. I think that, you know, in certain ways, it's been tricky, you know, discovering or figuring out in a sensitive way how to explain what has happened to Ivy and make it still resonate and make sense in a lot of ways. I mean, I think, you know, that was figured out eventually. I love the foil that she is to Oswald because, again, like, you know, she saved his life. And then, you know, and then they end up working together. She's his only ally when he comes back after Ed shoots him and dumps him in the river. And then you have this amazing dichotomy between 2 personalities. You have, like, Oswald, who's, like, you know, everything organized, you know, like, you know, yeah, planning, control. And she is, like, the opposite of control. And she's also a young person in her mind, you know, she doesn't know about the world yet. And so they actually weirdly have things to teach each other, you know, which I think is just a really cool way to take it. And, you know, we start right off on that, coming right back in season 4, where we left off, you know, when he's showing Ivy the club, so, yeah.
So do you feel that Penguin becomes the mentor for Ivy?
Yeah,
like
definitely. I mean, I think, like, again, like, you know, she's also learning, you know, she wants to know how to be, have her own agency and be in control of herself. And so she was looking to Oswald to do that. And she has no interest in being a good person, being a righteous person. She's like, yeah, like, show me the nasty stuff. Like, show me like, how to get things done the way you do it. So, yeah, thank you.
Over here, outside.
The outsider. Hello.
Well, I fell down the rabbit hole of Gotham.
Yes.
Because I love Dishonored.
Yes,
And,
I love that.
The Outsider is my favorite character, so especially in the second one.
Yeah, right.
So I just had a question about how you got involved in video game voice acting. Did they come to you, and what was the experience like?
They came to me. It was amazing. It's something I've always wanted to be, you know, involved in, and just voiceovers in general. I mean, obviously my kid doesn't like cartoons, but I've been obsessed with animation like pretty much my whole life, and I really like. There's something just so lovely about that idea of being able to act and be a completely different vision of what you're confined to as a human being. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of imagination that goes into it. And they approached me, and I just was so grateful to have a part of that. It's something that I definitely want to do in the future. I mean, it's a little weird because like my voice is kind of distinctive. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was in a play once, and there was a part in the play where the characters one of the characters is being asked like a bunch of questions by a bunch of different reporters, and so the way we staged it is they just did the actor on the stage and then did like flashing lights and then voiceovers from the audience of like the press asking questions, and they had to take me out of it because they were like, we can clearly tell it's you asking the question. And they'd be like, sir, do you know anything about it? They were like, it just sounds exactly like you. Yeah, but whatever comes, I'm totally into it. Yeah. Thank you. Great. Anything else? We good?
Right over here.
One of the things that's come up is that the show has a really distinctive visual design.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, how does that inspire you, or like that clothes and everything, while you're working to, develop the feelings and character and motivations and things?
It's an immense, hugely important part for me, at least, getting into character. Like, I get asked, like, how do you get into character, And I say it's all of the exterior or the external parts coming together. Like get the nose on, go through the makeup, go through hair, put on the lovely, beautiful suits that are made for me, just for me. Which I'm not a sample size. So this is a really special thing in my life to have a suit that's actually made for me that fits. But like all of those coming together, and then like. I'm stepping into the skin of Oswald, and then we go on to these sets, and then it's transformative. I wish all of you had a chance to go visit the sets, because again, it's like you're in a giant warehouse, but then you step into a room and you could be, in Wayne Manor. It feels like Wayne Manor, you know what I mean? It's like down to the most intricate details that you would never really be able to pick up when you watch the thing, but it's like little tchotchkes on the tables, and like just all these pieces coming together. You're in the world. That's how I get into character. It's like the external forces coming together to make this beautiful show. I'm so proud of like the way the show looks. I think it's the best looking show in network television by far. And what they do is magic. We do 9 days an episode, and that's 42 minutes, like a 42-minute action movie in 9 days, which is insane. So yeah, they're just the best in business. Yeah, we shoot in Steiner, which is on the Navy Yard, right over here. Again, this Comic-Con is very convenient. Very convenient. I'd like to be back next year.
We'll definitely have you back.
Okay.
Cool. In the back, yes.
I'm a really big fan.
Nice, thank you.
I recently saw you in a movie called Would You Rather?
Yeah.
And I was wondering, are you afraid that you might get typecast because you seem to play the evil villain all the time? You do it really, really well.
Okay, this may sound too pat of an answer, but I have an answer for this one because I do. Yeah, you get a lot, and it is something to be to think about. It's like, oh, okay, like typecasting is real, but let me just being afraid of it. Let me just say the second half of that term is cast, and I've been not cast. I never really sucked. So yeah, typecast away. I don't give a shit. But then again, that's nice, but too, because then it's on me. Then I have to be the better actor, and that keeps me motivated to keep studying, to keep working, to keep to really try and break out of any sort of patterns that I fall into. Because again, it's, for me, this is a marathon. This is a long term. Oswald, a great, amazing role, but hopefully one of several. So I just want to be better and better. It's like I worked with I had another project come up, and I worked with an acting coach because you do the same character for 3+ years. You fall into it. Just gets really hard to break out of certain mannerisms, that have gone into Oswald. And so, yeah, I hired someone literally just be like, okay, anytime I do this, stop me, and we start over, because again, it's just about, it's about working and developing as an actor and as an artist, which is, yeah. So, I'm not afraid of that. If I do, then I'm a shitty actor. It's not fair.
I think we have time for one more question. Is it going to be Mystique?
Yes! Wow. I didn't even see you over there. You just blended right in.
So my question is, when Gotham announced that Penguin was going to be queer, the internet obviously had a lot of mixed reactions.
Mhm.
What was your reaction as as an actor, as a person, as someone who's married to and has a husband? What was your reaction to all the hate and the support that you got?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I was really happy because of this conversation we had earlier. I was really happy that it was happening to me because because I am out and proud and I don't give two shits what anyone says about it. And that's been the beginning of my career. Like it's never really been an issue for me. So I also I think about queer issues and I understand my own privilege and I understand when I mess up, when I'm still evolving and learning how to be more open and accepting and also conscientious of other people's experiences. So because of that, I was like, I'm glad because I feel like I'm qualified to have a bigger conversation about queer issues and go beyond, Penguin's gay, like where a lot of people that's where it stops, that's all they see or think or feel. So anyway, I was glad it was me, but then also, my reaction to the hate was just like, and there, people I've said this before, but like, it just shows, the thing that upset me the most was people would be like, they'd be like, I love you, I love your character, I just hate that you made the Penguin gay. Not because I don't like gay people, but because it's not ever been in comics before, it's not canon. And I'm like, fuck you. I don't care. It's not canon. Okay, excuse me. You're watching our fucking show. Whenever did Bruce Wayne and Catwoman hang out when they were tweens? Do you have a problem with that? No? Oh, okay, did you have a problem when the Joker killed Batman's parents in the first Tim Burton movie? Oh, no, you didn't? Huh. The only thing you have a problem, which also, again, both of those are non-canon issues. What's the outlier here? Oh, it's a queer storyline. So, okay, thank you so much. I'm really glad to know that you're homophobic. Actually, I really am glad to know that. It's like I like to know when people are homophobic and when they're completely missing the mark and completely blind to their own prejudice. It's not because I don't like gay people. It's because it's not canon. Are you kidding me with this canon shit? It's like, but again, so that's my reaction, and I also like, and again, it's like these characters have been around for 78 years. Would anyone be watching Gotham if it was the Batman from 1945? Like, to be honest, because these comics are written to reflect and speak to the time in which they're written and the people who are living when they were written. Like this story is speaking to, and our story is no different. It's speaking to, it's telling the story in 2017. So we're going to reflect some issues and some things in our show that weren't issues or things in 1960, in 1940, in the past. Like it's happened every single time. Oh, people have a problem with this? Okay, well, it's because they're homophobic. So yeah. Unfortunately, we all understand that. We see it all the time. So, yeah, I'm no different. So, thank you. Looking good, too. I hope you have dark tile in your shower. Oh, right.
So that is it for today's
Thank you so much. To FlameCon, to reach out. Like, let's make this, I'm not even kidding, like, this should happen, like, all over the country. Like, and if everybody, like, gets it out there, like, then we can make it happen. I just think it'd be a really great thing. So, thanks.
Well, I mean, the last time I looked on Twitter, we were number 1 or number 2 in trending.
Nice!
Number 2 in trending. So Robin is doing photo ops at 4:30 over in the Meet and Pose area. So you can see Robin there, and then he'll be doing signing a little bit after that. And then he'll be back here tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, and just come and say hi and talk. I mean, let's just hang out and have fun. Right on.